The reason I came here was actually after watching the Inspiration 4 mission and being a part of that mission, seeing what used to be funded by a massive organization like NASA, where you're collecting money across the entire society, all of the taxpayers, was now paid for by a single individual. If a single individual can now fund all of this, so can a university. So a university can now train students, they can send faculty to fly with their own research experiments, and they can send people working on entrepreneurial ideas to actually go into space and test that product themselves. The unique thing about the University of Austin that makes this vision possible is the emphasis on entrepreneurship and leadership. The University of Austin has their Polaris program, so students will be working on a project throughout the entire 4 years that they're a student here, and that actually gives them the time that they need to be able to develop ideas that they could perhaps someday test themselves in spaceflight. So that was the opportunity that I saw in coming to a place like UATX, was the ability to actually build this new type of program that's only recently been enabled. One of the unique focuses about the University of Austin, and particularly about the students here, is all of the intellectual development and intellectual foundations programs that they go through. And when we're thinking about these ambitious spaceflight projects, such as establishing the first colony on Mars, we don't just need to think about the technology that we're taking with us and the technology that we need to enable that process. We also need to think about the human development, the types of people that we're going to send there. And one of the things that makes this a great place to start your journey is you'll get the opportunity to work on projects within the field of astronautics and within the field of human spaceflight, but you'll also become the sort of person that can handle the sort of stresses that you'll be placed under during that journey. You'll know how to navigate conflict, how to prevent tribalism from breaking down into different warring factions amongst you and your fellow peers or your fellow colonists. That's something that I think is missing from a lot of other programs. I would like to, as we actually develop a proper campus, build a Mars simulation habitat. And that's where I see the development of the types of people taking place, as you can actually start to put people in there and simulate missions and see how group dynamics play out and see where those breaking points are. But that's early for now. We don't have the funding to do that yet. What I would like to do eventually is have a student wants to go through an astronautics program, have some sort of astronaut readiness score assigned to them when they graduate. So, and a component of this would be how psychologically ready are they? So if they go into the simulation, and how well were they able to handle it? And maybe they don't handle the first one that well, but they get better at it throughout their time here. Story has a very important component to play. Star Trek was massively inspirational, not just to myself, but to multiple generations of people going into space research in the field of space exploration. Some elements of Star Trek should be updated for the current generation. For example, Star Trek took place in an abundant society where you could make everything that you needed with a replicator. There wasn't really a concept of money. Particularly, I think that absence of the concept of money is what makes Star Trek very hard to replicate in real life. In reality, space is very expensive. And the reason that we went to the moon and we haven't gone back is largely due to economic factors. If we want to actually explore the stars, get to Mars, get further out, we have to figure out how we're going to make money in this process. And I think a narrative that tells the story of entrepreneurship and how you develop economies and integrate new places into your economy, even a place like Mars or the asteroid belt. I think there's a lot of narrative development somebody could do in that area that would have a very large impact on the current generation.